was starting to tell you about how to ask questions of our panelists. If you go to the chat, there are 3 dots. If you click on those, you'll get to the chat area where you can ask a question. Only thing I ask is please put your name so that I can actually know who you are and can acknowledge you as we're asking the question in case you have any follow-up to it too. So I think you're going to agree with me that we have an incredible panel this morning. If there's anyone who has a pulse on Spartanburg's economy and what's happening, it's the group that you have before you during this session. I'm pretty sure that you know all of these leaders in our community, but let me make sure. After I introduce our panelists, we'll jump right into hearing from them. So first up, I want to welcome County Councilman David Britt. So David is the vice chairman of Spartanburg County Council. He's been in that position for a while now and has served on Spartanburg County Council since 1991, was no stranger to local elected official responsibilities. He was on the school board before that. He has led numerous economic development efforts during the span that he's been on county council. He serves as the chairman of the Economic Development Committee and serves also on the advisory committee for the economy at One Spartanburg, Inc., both of which have recruited more than 45,000 jobs and $16 billion worth of industrial and commercial investment to Spartanburg to date. And David's going to tell you a little bit more about what's happening in 2020 with that investment too. So hold on for that. Many of you also know that David graduated from Wofford College and works as the vice president of sales at Tindall Corporation, where he's been since 1988. But I'll tell you something that you may not know. Today is David's birthday. So happy birthday, David Britt. Thank you for spending this special day with us here at One Spartanburg, Inc. and with this community. And thank you for your service, David.
Thank you, Catherine.
Next, I want to introduce, you're so welcome. I want to introduce John Montgomery. John and I work a lot on economic development. I have an opportunity to work with him just yesterday. We were talking about projects going on in Spartanburg. He's the vice president of Colliers International at the Spartanburg office. His breadth of experience in master planned communities, retail, residential, commercial, industrial development, you guys, he does it all. He guides clients through the development process from inception to lease up, not only in the upstate of South Carolina, but across the Southeast as well. Many of you may also know this. He serves as the Commissioner of Public Works for the city of Spartanburg. John, you've been doing that for a while too, so thank you for your service there. You guys, John has overseen and developed thousands of acres of real estate and economic development projects worth billions of dollars, including the facilities for Torrey, Carbon Fibers, Rit Rama, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, Magnus Seating, and the list goes on. John, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for all the investment that you've done personally in Spartanburg. It's making a big difference, especially in the city, so thank you. Next, I want to introduce Caleb Beasley. Caleb, good morning. It's exciting to have you as part of our panel. You're a new panelist to our group. Caleb joined OTO Development's revenue management team in 2013. He's their corporate director of revenue management. He brings a solid decade of hospitality experience from across multiple brands. After serving as a regional director for 5 years, he was promoted to corporate director of revenue management in the fall of 2018, with the responsibility of all of OTO's Hyatt, Marriott, and Hilton branded properties in the Western United States. He's a graduate of the University of Michigan. My dad graduated from Wayne State, Caleb. I don't think you knew that about me. Caleb began his career with Marriott International and worked in the Detroit and Salt Lake City markets before coming to OTO Development. Caleb, welcome. We're thrilled to have you as part of our panel.
Thank you.
And lastly, my friend Sue Schneider. Sue and I have been in plenty of foxholes working on projects, trying to make sure that they have water and sewer. Many of you know Sue is the Chief Executive Officer of Spartanburg Water. Sue, I was looking at your LinkedIn. It's been over 2 decades that you've been here in Spartanburg. Time flies. Sue was the first person to welcome me to Spartanburg when I came as a county administrator, so I'll never forget that, Sue. She's had over 14 years or around there as the CEO. She's leading this nationally recognized organization here in Spartanburg through all of this unprecedented growth. In addition to managing this very dynamic organization, Sue is heavily committed to our community, giving her time to the Chamber, the Urban League, United Way, 10 at the Top, and more. I don't know where you find all the time for all of this, Sue, but thank you and welcome to our panel this morning. So with those introductions behind us, you know, I think we can honestly say that this time hindsight is 2020, no pun intended. As we heard earlier in our earlier session, not all of the news about Spartanburg has been negative for 2020. In fact, Spartanburg's fared pretty well, all things considered. So let's hear from each panelist about their general outlook for their industry. We're going to give them a couple minutes each to go through this before we jump into questions, but just a chance to hear, how do you think things are going to look in 2021? David, let's start with you.
All right. And before I talk about 2021, let me say a few things about Spartanburg and really the upstate of South Carolina and where we've come in these last 25, 30 years, because I think it foretells our opportunities for 2021 and beyond. When I got elected to council back in 1991, I mean, part of the reason I got elected, I worked in industry. And Spartanburg was in desperate need of recruiting companies here because we'd lost so many jobs, 25,000 jobs, when the textile industry pretty much evaporated right before our eyes. So I got elected, again, like I say, because of my industrial background and my ability to sell the value of the Spartanburg community. That 100 years of textile experience, it meant a lot in recruiting companies, just like BMW. In 1991, when BMW was looking at coming to the upstate of South Carolina, what helped them make the decision to go from where they were thinking about going over near Anderson to Spartanburg, that effort was really led by Mr. Milliken and Governor Campbell. And what drove them here was our tech system, back then Spartanburg Tech, and all the associates that, and all the residents that lived in Spartanburg having so much textile background and manufacturing background. They made the best textile product in the world. And I think BMW saw the opportunity there that they could transfer that knowledge and that experience into making cars. So, and it took us a while. I mean, even with thinking that BMW is getting ready to make an investment here, you would think everybody in elective office and in the county would be totally supportive. That wasn't the case. And we fought a lot of battles on council. There were 4-3 votes. People in the community weren't real keen on us offering incentives for this company. And there are a lot of complaints that, this could change Spartanburg, can change, upstate South Carolina. And it took a long time. It took years for us to figure out that not only was it better not to fight amongst the 7 council members, but also it didn't do well for us to fight against our legislative delegation, our House and Senate members down in Columbia, and even our own city, the city of Spartanburg. We all battled each other. It was constant fighting. And again, fortunately, we had some good folks like Carter Smith, working back then. We call it the chamber, and we formed the Economic Futures Group. Carter and I were able, working with Foster Chapman and a number of others, to get people to start working together. And like I say, it took us a long time. I mean, even Catherine, when you came here, you could still see the semblance of some of that, turfdom and battles. But the good news is today, we don't have that anymore. We've got our Spartanburg County Council working together with our administration. Again, Catherine was a large part of that as our administrator when she first came here, teaching us all that teamwork does make the dream work. And our relationship to this day, with the city of Spartanburg has been phenomenal, especially going through this COVID pandemic. And the relationship that we have with Chris Story and the city council members, our delegation, and our One Spartanburg. And we're so blessed to have, Alan Smith as our CEO and chamber president, his energy and vision, and he's bought into it. Everybody they've learned the lesson that, that again, teamwork does make this dream work. And you would think that everybody would know that, but that's not the case. I mean, we have communities from all over the country asking us, what is our secret ingredient? We have other counties in South Carolina say, how do y'all do it? And we share it. It's not a big deal. Working together is a lot easier. I mean, well, actually, it's not easy. It is taking some work. I mean, working with Sue and John on all these projects, when we had battles with different groups that, that, well, we want this water rights. We want this sewer opportunity. Hey, listen, the rising tide floats all boats. So let's get this company here. Let's work together, and everybody contributes. And Sue and her team and John and his team, even over at Packlet Milliken. I mean, good gosh, the teamwork we've had there. That's why we've had these companies that you highlighted earlier, Catherine. But all that set us up for this 2020, challenge. We didn't have to figure out how to do it together. We were a community that came together, bringing back the Berg Task Force that I've been fortunate to be a part of. 34, task force members, again, working together across the county and across different lines, not just political, but business and small, large, and everything in between, all working together. So that sets us up for a great 2021. And I wanted to set that stage too, because as I said, that working together and that teamwork does make a difference. All you have to do, and I'll speak to it when we get a little later. I'll get into my part there, and I'll talk about that. So it does make a huge difference in our success and when we have challenges. So that was my short version.
Well, thank you, David. Tell us real quickly, as you think about your industry itself at Tindall, take off your hat from the county. As you think about Tindall and things that you're seeing in Spartanburg and in the Southeast in the U.S., what is your forecast for 2021 for Spartanburg in the industrial side of the house?
And we're a good barometer because, I am Vice President, General Manager of Tindall Corporation, not just Vice President of Sales. And so I get involved with a lot of our not only the sales side, but the manufacturing part. I looked 5 years back where we were, and our sales and revenue as we were ramping up, it was white hot in 2015, 2016. Our best year ever was 2018. And then all of a sudden last year, you could start to see a slide. We service North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee out of our headquarters here in Spartanburg. We could see last year, and particularly from March of 2019, that opportunities were slowing down. And there's a reason for that. But the good news is, even with the pandemic, the last half of this year, things have just gone white hot again. And I think in large part, it's because of this civility that I think that folks are seeing coming. We have 211 international companies just here in Spartanburg. North Carolina, South Carolina, all the companies that we build things for at Tindall, in large part, are foreign-owned companies that are building manufacturing facilities, distribution facilities, office facilities, companies from not just the Carolinas that are doing this. They're people that want to invest their dollars, but they're concerned and have been concerned. So I think we saw that slowing down in 2019. And like I say, since about August, we've seen things get hot again. And in the last 6 weeks has been incredible. So it's bearing out some good things for 2021 here at Tindall. We look for a record year next year.
Excellent news. So John Montgomery, what say you about 2021? What's the forecast?
Well, let me just touch a little bit on 2020 because it's been certainly a roller coaster in the real estate world. We entered into 2021 or 2020 with some high hopes that we were going to continue the strong momentum that we've been building as a market over the last several years. A lot of developers have moved into this market and discovered that the upstate of South Carolina is a great place to do business, being that where we're located between Raleigh and Atlanta on the 85 corridor. This market, for people who don't know, it's over 215 million square feet in industrial real estate, which is a very, very good sized market. Most people don't realize how big of an industrial market we've grown to be. And so, a lot of, if you drive around, you'll see all these big industrial buildings that are being built. A lot of those are speculative warehouses that developers come into this market, found a land site with good utilities and good access, and have built a lot of these warehouses in hopes that they will be able to lease them. And we were coming into 2020, we had a lot of good momentum off of what BMW does and continues to grow and bring jobs and bring suppliers. The inland port being a huge new driver for this market, bringing logistics companies here. And then just the general manufacturing industry that is so prevalent in this region. Well, obviously COVID hit and everything just came to a grinding halt. And it was a very eerie first, second quarter of this year where really nothing happened. Everything got put on hold. Economic development projects that were planned got pushed out. Leases didn't get signed. Real estate closings didn't happen. So, we really pressed pause for 6 months really, and then kind of towards the end of the summer, things started to pick back up again because these projects that were put into place still needed to happen pre-COVID, and so kind of like what David's seen, the last couple of months, we have really picked up a lot of momentum again to kind of catch back up from the momentum we lost earlier this year, and really trying to get kind of back on track to where we were pre-COVID. So we have a lot of inventory in the market right now. We have almost 6 million square feet of buildings that have been delivered that are sitting, as of through the end of the third quarter, we had only had less than 2 million square feet of absorption. But I will say this fourth quarter, I'm very optimistic about. A lot of buildings I think we'll see leased. And currently there is a real kind of a new wave of developers that are coming into this market looking to identify land sites, identify the next land plays and industrial speculative positions. So we're seeing a huge surge of land being purchased or put under contract for the next wave of development, which would be kind of the middle to the end of next year where projects would start. So we're bullish that we're going to end this year. We're going to scrap out a pretty solid year. Certainly much better than we thought we were going to be, back in April. And my prediction for 21 is we're going to see a lot of absorption on the buildings that were delivered in the fourth quarter of last year and the first and second quarters of this year. And I think we'll see all of those buildings absorb either fourth quarter or the first or second quarter of next year, and then we'll see just a continued surge of development to happen. Because this area, we're very fortunate with where we're located geographically. We're an 8-hour drive from about 95 million people, and I think people have discovered that they don't necessarily have to be in some of these major metropolitan areas. They can be in a region like Spartanburg, South Carolina, where they have great quality of life and low cost of living, great climate, very business friendly environment, and great infrastructure to get goods to where they ultimately need to be. So we're very bullish about 2021, and we're looking forward to getting kind of things back on track from kind of back to the pre-COVID levels.
Well, John, thank you again to you and your team for all that you're doing to help keep the ball rolling forward and gaining momentum. I know you guys don't sleep, so thank you for all that you do. I'm going to switch gears here and head to the hospitality market. Caleb, this has been a very difficult year for the hospitality industry, and particularly hotels, restaurants, and so on. I know that you're deep into how things are going at OTO and hearing a lot about the hospitality industry. Can you give us an insight on 2020 and how things are going to look in 2021?
Kind of, Catherine, to echo what John was saying in the beginning of his response, 2020 January looked off the charts. Excited, poised to have one of the best growth quarters that we've seen nationally. And then we run into COVID. And I think 2020, if you didn't know before what or just how much of a symbiotic relationship a local economy has, your eyes are open now. Because all the people that David does business with, that John does business with, they come to Spartanburg and they need some place to stay. And if they're not traveling, people are not occupying hotel rooms. People are not going out to have dinner at the local restaurant, and it really is a trickle down effect. So the first thing that OTO did when COVID hit is it wasn't, a conversation about revenue. It was how do we protect our people? How do we make sure that they're safe? That we can do everything that is in our power to, secure their jobs, to make sure that they're safe and feel good coming into work. And then it was how do we take care of them so they can take care of our valued guests? It was a really rocky period in the first maybe month or so. But after that, our portfolio in particular began to emerge as a national leader because of the relationships that we fostered before COVID hit. And our CEO always talks about the fierce urgency of now. Everything was now. If somebody called you for a lead for, one room or one person, you drop everything, you call them back now. And it was really about getting out there. And sometimes, 6 feet, that meant virtually, but touching your clients, assuring them that you were still there for them, and adding increased value. What's really important right now to travelers is I need to feel safe. I need to feel secure. I need to make sure that my room is, super clean before I check in. And partnering with our brands, Hyatt, Hilton, Marriott, all of our properties have ensured that we're taking the utmost steps to ensure that we deliver that value to our guests. The industry should finish 2020 about 50% down in RevPAR, and that metric means revenue per available room. So a very rocky year. But owners and operators are very optimistic about 2021. It should be the largest growth year that we've seen with regards to RevPAR, a little over 30%. When the news hit about the vaccines coming, that was obviously an uptick that could be seen in the market. But I think that did something for the traveler's psyche. They need to know that they're going to be safe and secure when they're flying, when they're staying in hotels. Now the spikes, going into the holiday season, we could definitely see a slump in bookings and airline tickets booked and hotel rooms booked. But right now, we are looking towards 2020 as being a stellar year for the hotel industry. Right now, there's still no catalyst for pricing power. So that will come behind the occupancy lift that we're projecting for 2021. All of the companies that David and John mentioned in their conversations, we're looking forward to them beginning to travel again. Until they can ensure that their people are safe traveling, and really until they get the go ahead to say, okay, now it's time to have meetings again. Now I can travel and see David and John in person. Then corporate travel is still going to be a challenge. But people are still getting married. Believe it or not, people are still doing sporting events, and military travel is strong right now in those type of groups. So yeah, that's what we see for 2021. Very, very optimistic.
Thank you, Caleb. I agree with you. Keep that optimism for sure. So Sue Schneider, we heard in our first session this morning about the housing market in the Southeast and specifically in Spartanburg. I know that puts a lot of strain on any utility if they aren't expecting it. You guys have done such a great job in planning ahead. Tell us a little bit about 2020, how the utilities, certainly the one that you manage, but as you've heard about the market, how are things going in the utility side of the house as this growth continues to move forward? And what's your prediction for 2021?
My prediction for 2021, I'll start with that instead of going back to 2020, is it's going to continue to be very strong. With the vaccine, with the way things are opening up now, it's going to continue to be strong. But as far as the housing market is concerned, the way we meet that challenge and really stay ahead of the challenge is we have 5 key strategies, and that's utilities have to plan for the long range growth, have a plan in place, know where you see things are going. The second one is, but you have to be able to pivot. And we work closely with commercial and residential developers. In the event that what we thought was going to happen and what we're planning for starts taking a little pivot. And we've seen that happen just in the last 2 years. Last 2 years, strongest growth was north and west. We've seen a number of lots and developments open up to the east. So we began pivoting as we got inquiries and worked closely with those developers. You also need to rely on technology, and that's what we do at Spartanburg Water. We use our models for water and wastewater to really know what capacities we have and where we have it and where do we need to have it prospectively. The fourth one is that we try to keep ahead on staffing levels to meet the anticipated growth. Like everybody else, we need talented staff. We need to be able to keep them, and we have to be ready ahead of the game. And then lastly, we talk not just about the lines and being able to support maybe one of John's developments or a company coming in, but we have to have facility capacity. And that's not something that's done on a dime. That takes years to plan, design, and construct. So what we do is we look regularly at each one of our facilities and say, do I have enough for growth? There is no one that's going to look for economic development in Spartanburg and say, I think I'll wait 3 years. They want to know when they're looking at a lot, when they're looking at property, that the utility is there. And so we try to ensure that we have the right utility support in the key locations.
You do a great job with all of that, Sue. I know that when we're bringing companies to Spartanburg as prospects, you're a key partner when you come into the room and start talking about what you can provide as far as capacity. It's a game changer. So thank you for what you and all of the commissioners do at Spartanburg Water and Sanitary Sewer District. So thank you. So I'm going to turn to a couple of questions. David, I'm going to send this first question to you. How do you think the presidential election is going to impact the economy, especially in Spartanburg? And lots of talk, about maybe there being a recession. How do you predict Spartanburg's economy would fare? And you're still muted, David.
Sorry about that. I said that's a very good question, and I've been pretty shy about my thoughts on certain things coming out of Washington for the last couple of years, and I'm just kidding about that. First of all, let me go on record. I've been a Republican since 1972. My first vote was for Richard Nixon, so I didn't start off real good on that one. But so I am a lifelong Republican, but more importantly, I'm a conservative business person. And all you have to do is look at the numbers. And from 2016, 2017, 2018, coming off of the bad recession that we had, Spartanburg was again hot as a firecracker. We averaged $750 million a year invested in Spartanburg for 3 years running. Averaged right at 1,800 jobs a year. And I let the president know this right out of the chute. First thing he did in February of 17, when he took office, the first thing he did was go into a war with Germany and Chancellor Merkel and BMW. I mean, the golden goose for us is business and industry, and the heart of our industry, just like what Caleb was saying, all those folks from Germany and from BMW, when they come to Spartanburg, guess where they stay? In our downtown hotels. Where do they eat? In our downtown restaurants. What does President Trump do? Get into a fight with Germany. And it affected us, right? I mean, we knew it very early. We tried to send messages, back to Washington through Senator Graham, Senator Scott, our House members, that it was affecting the home team. And I went very public with it. And then the next thing he does, he sets a tariff, a 25% steel and aluminum tariff. Guess what? All our industries, all the buildings that John builds and helps get built, most of it's steel. Fortunately, a lot of precast to it too, but a lot of steel goes in this, the equipment that goes into all these businesses here in Spartanburg. So all of a sudden you saw that white hot economy And when he hit the tariffs, you saw it slow down. Look at the numbers in 2019. I think we had $350 million invested in Spartanburg County in 2019. This year, it's just going to be under, and in 2019, we had, I think it was 800 new jobs created when we were averaging nearly 1,800 each of those years. We didn't change. As John mentioned, the inland port got built. We have 5 tire companies in South Carolina. We got 2 Volvo down in Berkeley County. We have 20 suppliers that are housed here in Spartanburg County that produce product for Volvo, not just BMW. And we have 211 international companies that call Spartanburg home. So this fight with the international community and the international world affected us greatly. We are considered the industrial mecca of the United States. So anyhow, that unrest, the risk that was being talked about, just the uncalm waters when it came to industry and business and what was happening here in the United States affected us greatly. I traveled to Japan in 2018, and I met with 5 companies while I was over there that have facilities here: Toray, Kobelco, Alcoa Fujikara, and a couple others. And the question those Japanese leaders had, what is going on in the United States? We're concerned about investing. Again, go back to BMW. Since March of 2017, BMW has not made a major investment in Plant Spartanburg in 4 years. They never went more than 15, 16 months without making a huge investment. They started off with a $420 million investment in 1992. They've invested $11 billion in Spartanburg, but in 4 years, nothing. So, and like I say, I haven't been I haven't hidden in the corner and just, fired off today about our tariffs and the trade policies, how it's affected Spartanburg and South Carolina. I've let it be known. I've gone to Washington. A lot of y'all know I testified before the Senate Finance Committee saying how it was hurting us. Again, like I said earlier in my opening comments, this morning, this partnership, teamwork, it does send a message. And I think it's negatively affected us. I think right now, since November 3rd, the message has been sent. And Caleb mentioned it, talking about the stock market. You look and see what the stock market has done. The investors, and mainly that's coming from business and industry, they feel comfortable that whatever happens in 2021, it can't be as turbulent and as violent and as has been for the last 4 years. Investors key off of that. So for Spartanburg, and Catherine, you're involved in it. Again, Carter and Caleb, you're, George Dean Johnson. I just got to say, I can't say enough good things about what George Dean has done for Spartanburg and Bill Barnett. These folks have put their money where their mouth is. They've invested in Spartanburg. They've helped us be where we are. But I see nothing but great things. Our business, our metrics that we're on to bringing back the Berg, everything other than hotel stays and daily airline travel is off the chart. It's more than it was in 2019 at the same time. So it bodes well. I think the calmness will send a good message to our foreign investors, even our U.S. investors, that this is the best place in the world to do business. We know it. Again, Catherine knows what we have going on. We've got more people looking at Spartanburg right now than if you add all of 2019 and 2020 together. We got more people looking to invest here and build here. And not only manufacturing. Let me point out, only 35% of the investors in the manufacturing companies in Spartanburg are tied to the automotive industry. They're everything else. They know this is the right place to do business, but we've got other opportunities that will help us recruit people here. Sue, the work that you're doing, helping get these subdivisions built, these apartments. We have 5 or 6 apartment complexes just in downtown Spartanburg. We went 20 years without an apartment complex being built. And now we have 5 nice. John's got a very nice one he's working on. Got them all over because we've got all these people wanting to not only move their businesses here, they want to come here and get jobs. So we're going to that. I do not see any hint of a recession. I see an explosion of opportunity and investments coming in Spartanburg through 2021. and in large part because of the calmness that's actually taking place right now.
Well, David, I have always banked on your predictions. I'm going to keep banking on them today, that's for sure. So stay bullish about Spartanburg. There's something about the magic that you bring to all of this that makes it happen. So thank you.
It's the team. It's the team and the people who live here. That's what it is. All of us working together. Again, Caleb, we're so excited to have you in Spartanburg too. I know you've been here for a while, but I really appreciate what you're doing. All of our meetings, as you mentioned, that even at Tindall, guess where we use? We use the Marriott and we use the AC Hotel. And we haven't been bringing people in, and neither have the other companies, but welcome on board, and we appreciate what you're doing.
So I've gotten my timer's gone off. We're down to the last minute or so before I need to roll to the introduction for the next session. John Montgomery, in just a few minutes, minute or two, what can we do to position ourselves to keep this momentum going? How should the county and industrial developers take advantage of the growth in this market?
Well, I mean, David hit on a lot of it already, but I can't say enough good things about Spartanburg County and how great our staff is administratively under the leadership of Cole Alverson. Previously, you put a lot of great things into motion, and I do business across the whole upstate and state of South Carolina, and I know I'm a little biased, but I will say there is no better economic development team than right here in Spartanburg, with you leading the charge on that. And it is such a difference when we bring prospects to this market, to have the ability to meet with people like David Britt, who chairs our economic development, you and your team, Cole Alverson and his team. It's just such a breath of fresh air, and clients walk away saying, is this for real? Is this really how y'all do business in Spartanburg? And it is why we continue to lead the state in economic investments, because we are such a business friendly environment. We clear the way for permitting, for getting projects fast tracked. So I would say to the county, please keep doing what you've been doing, because that is a recipe for success. David, in your leadership on council, I mean, it is very unique to have a county council like we do, that is so cohesive, it works together, it tries to figure out how to get things done. And you don't go to council meetings and see all these split votes and a lot of people fighting. I mean, Manning Lynch, who's new to our council chairman, he's doing a great job, and please keep up that good work. As far as other things the county can do to really keep us at the top of the counties in the state, we obviously need to continue to provide suitable sites for companies that are looking to develop. So that means sites that have good infrastructure, not just water and sewer, but roads. And another key piece of infrastructure, which we hit on earlier, is housing. Pre-COVID, we were below 3% on unemployment, and we're not going to breed ourselves out of that problem. We have to provide a place for people to move. And Spartanburg is doing a great job of recruiting people to this market, and we have to have a place for them to live. And Spartanburg County has been very fortunate to have great land, and through Sue's leadership, great land that has access to utilities. And so we are seeing a tremendous housing boom in the county. Year to date, Spartanburg Water, Spartanburg Sanitary Sewer, we're hitting records off the charts. And it's to people like Mark III and others that are building lots and building houses that are bringing people into this market. This is the workforce housing that's being built in the county is a key piece of infrastructure. So, so the county can certainly, keep up the good work and helping promote that growth. And then as far as, the employment goes, obviously, Ready SC, the Spark Center, job training, those are critical pieces as well. Companies looking to move in this area need to know that we've got qualified workers that have the ability. Spartanburg Community College does a great job of getting workers ready. And so, all in all, just keep doing what you've been doing, because, we consistently lead the state in investment, and that's because we've got such a great business-friendly environment. And as far as developers go, while we do have some inventory sitting, it will be leased, and we need more product. And Spartanburg's been very fortunate that we have had developers, private developers, building speculative product for tenants that want to move to this area. I mean, not all the counties in the state have that luxury. You know, there's a lot of counties that have, you know, a hard time getting developers to build, and they end up having to build buildings to bring users to the market. So Spartanburg County has been very fortunate that we've never, as a county, never had to build a spec building, because we've always had private investors providing that major investment. So, you know, please keep investing in this community. Please keep bringing your money and creating more jobs and investment, because that's, as David said, you know, rising tide floats all boats.
Thank you, John. So since we were having technical difficulties, and because I have a great partner in Timothy Bush, who is the next session, I have time for one more question. And Caleb, I'm going to ask it of you. Is there anything that we can do to help the Spartanburg hospitality market accelerate through recovery?
I think, Catherine, we're, you know, kind of there. You know, we are not in a high barrier market, let's say like a New York or a South San Francisco, where the demand is contingent on really kind of one thing. In New York, it's, you know, international tourism. If people aren't coming in from other nations, you know, when things are bad, they're really bad. Some accounts that I, you know, or some markets that I manage in California, the entire market is contingent on the production of one account. And if they say they're not going to travel for half the year, you got to get really creative about, you know, how you fill your hotel. The diversification of industry here in Spartanburg, I think, is going to propel it forward and see well, we haven't seen as big of a dip this year as some other markets, but I think that diversification in our segmentation is going to push us forward through this recovery. We don't basically have all our eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Excellent point, Caleb. And thank you for sharing that with us. I know there's a lot of people who are concerned about the hospitality market in Spartanburg and doubling down on efforts to try to help. So if you need help from Spartanburg, you just need to say the word. We're going to be there. So you guys, I can't believe how fast the time has flown. I know that normally if we were all together, I would ask for a standing ovation for our panelists this morning. But on behalf of everyone who's listening, panelists, thank you so much for taking your time this morning. David, John, Sue, and Caleb, you guys have been awesome. Thank you for all that you do for Spartanburg. And if we can help you, you let us know how we can do it. Before I sign off though, David, we had a thank you that came into our chat room. I just want to pass it on to you. So Clemson, you're going to need to forgive me if I butcher your last name, but Clemson Turagano said, "Hey, David, thanks for a very balanced and authentic report. Very helpful and much appreciated." So just want to give props to you, David, from one of your fans. So thanks again. I'm going to share some stuff that Alan was going to share with you at this point. As you heard in our first presentation, Alan, he loves Outlook Spartanburg. I work for Alan, so I can tell you he's been working on this for a while and encouraging us to bring our very best to the table this morning. Please keep Alan's wife's family in your prayers. They need them. So here's what Alan was going to share with you guys this morning. He said to thank all of the panelists here for a great presentation. To access documents highlighting this year's accomplishments by the numbers, if you go to Outlook Spartanburg, just go into the agenda. You can click onto our recap of by the numbers, tell you a little bit more about the story. As David said, 2020 remarkably has more investments than we had in 2019, and our jobs are climbing. So stay tuned. The last county council meeting is coming up. That's when we'll have a few more projects move forward and hopefully a few more announcements. So stand by for that. Our next session is focused on tourism, and you don't want to miss it. I want to thank our sponsors. This virtual event would not be possible without them. Our gold sponsors include Den & Blythe, Founders Federal Credit Union, McMillan Pasden Smith, Park National Bank, Purpose Financial, Spartanburg Community College, Spartanburg Water, Centerra Corporation. Our platinum sponsors include Agape Care South Carolina, Spartanburg Herald Journal. Our legislative sponsor for tomorrow's event is Duke Energy. And our presenting sponsors, J.M. Smith Foundation, NAI Earl Furman, and Wells Fargo. We're extremely thankful, especially this year, for your continued support. Now, our next session will begin promptly at 10 a.m., which is right around the corner, where we'll hear some exciting news from our new Chief Tourism Officer and the tourism panel. You guys need to meet Timothy. He really is pretty incredible. So stay tuned, grab a snack, but don't go away. Leave the screen up and we'll be right back. You guys have a great day. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Catherine.